Hello and welcome to part 25 of our Dominion 6 guide for new players. So in the previous part we are massing our units into Abyssia. We have managed to breach the province of the glowing caverns. Fantastic. What we're going to do is we're going to send in a scout, which we have one here. Arianis has been waiting for this day, so he's going to come in, he's going to storm the castle. Everybody else who can is going to continue to preach. We want to try and reduce the Dominion as much as we can. Small enemy force over here in the Chiliad Caverns. Hopefully they go for the Cavern Realm rather than attack us on top of the fortress. We've got some more reinforcements coming in. Be able to divvy them up, divvy up the gems as well. Speaking of gems to divvy up, let's get ChazzyBurger. We'll give them to Tulka, who has a fire in the jar. And he isn't part of our communion, so he can actually use those gems. Let's see what he's doing. So he's using Summon Earth Power, Phoenix Power, and a bunch of Magma Eruptions. That's fine. We're not going to get the most use out of our gems, unfortunately, against Abyssia, especially our fire gems, but we can certainly use some of our earth gems. Speaking of which, let's also, for this Priestsmith, let's give some of these over to Lothar for our earth gems. And we'll give Clovis some more astral gems, because he's our only astral caster here, other than Theok, who's going to be part of our communion. And then, other than that, we can give more earth gems over to Witterick, and we'll just keep a hold of these fire gems in case we want to use them for something else. Now for Lothar, what are you doing? We've got some new paths that we can use, so we'll grab him and we'll grab Clovis and we'll see what else they can cast. So we've got him casting Giant Strength Warriors. Let's just have a double check and see what else we can cast. So we can obviously cast our Ironbane, which I think we will definitely want to do. Don't think we want to use it on our communion because it takes a long time to cast. The communion will make it to take even longer to cast, costs a lot of fatigue. I think we actually want to use that on one of our other guys, just so we're not putting all that fatigue into our communion. But I think casting Group Iron Skin will be quite useful because we'll have that larger area of effect purely because we have our communion. So instead, let's do that. We'll do our Group Iron Skins, casting Curse of Stone. We can cast Giant Strength Warriors with another guy. So we've got some of our Soldiers of Steel. We'll get rid of these because we want you to cast our Ironbane because you'll be high enough level and you've got Earth Gems to help you cast it. And other than that, we've already got Curse of Stones coming in. We could try and get some Maws of the Earth as well. That could be very useful. And other than that, and also Legions of Steel. You should have enough Earth Gems. Now you don't quite have enough Earth Gems after Ironbane to cast that. That's fine. Instead, what we'll do is we will cast Giant Strength Warriors. We can only cast that the once, and then you will probably just try and buff up the rest of our units as much as you can, which you'll just do by giving out a couple of Earth Shatter Hammers as much as you are able to. Witterick over here, so he's going to summon Earth Power. And then he is actually going to be the one to cast Legions of Steel, which he'll be able to cast because he has enough Earth Gems to do it. And then after that, we've either got Weapons of Sharpness, which will be really good against Abyssia, but it's a low area of effect, or we have Giant Strength Warriors. That's a big, large effect, so we'll do that. We can cast that once. And then after that, what could you do? You'll be able to cast a couple. No, you won't be able to cast Magma Eruption because you don't have the fire path. After that, let's just give you a little bit of a light casting duty with some Earth Melds just to try and help our front line. As for Tulka here, so Tulka is going to cast Phoenix Power. Instead of these Magma Eruptions, actually what we want him to get him to do is we want to try and start giving our guys Flame Ward here. Large area effect, so massively buff our troops and give them fire resistance so they're less likely to get fatigued by the Abyssians, and that'll help us quite a lot. Other than that, we have a bunch of guys over here. We'll head them through into the Mudwater Caves. They'll be starting to march over and helping us. Yalok. Not quite what I wanted in that you're only Astral 1, but we can do something about that. So in the meantime, we'll get him to cast the Slave Matrix, or sorry, forge the Slave Matrix. For the rest of our guys here, we're going to keep marching them forward. For our scouts, we'll move them further into Abyssia with our own pathing, thank you. And let's construct a castle in the chambers underneath. That will give us access to more of these guys. We've got an additional commander, so we'll be able to get some more Master Smiths. Fantastic. Other than that, Adhim is pretty much useless. We'll get him over to Bethine. He's already searched pretty much everything here. We'll move some more of our Necromancers around. We'll get another one of our Helmets of Heroes. We have a lot of our death gem income coming in thanks to our throne and everything else that we have. Let's move you down to Ridge. You can search there. With this guy, we'll get him to search Bethine. And Alfred, you are Fire 2, so let's give you Boots of the Messenger. We'll try and get you down underneath the ground as soon as we can. Otherwise, we'll just hand out a bunch of quills, like so. Fantastic. Walther, you've come here, so we'll get you to move to Alzar. Got a bunch more troops here that we can pick up. So let's pick them up with one of our foot commanders, like so. Excellent. We'll get all of our troops start moving towards Summer Edge. Our Snek as well. Why are you not swimming? You have troops? You do have troops, that's why. There we are. We'll move him over to Summer Edge. He could be able to move straight onto that. We'll have a little think. We maybe give him a couple more Earth Gems as well, because we might be useful. We're probably not going to be using him in combat that much, just because he is our god. We don't want to risk him. And as for these Necromancers, we'll give you some more quills. At this point, we're really just concentrating on site searching, grabbing as much of our forces as we can, just so we can bring them down into the depths and use them to win the day. Let's get some more of these slave matrices, and before I forget, let's come over here to Ferris and to Mammotor. So Ferris is going to be very useful for us in that he is Earth 2 and Astral 2. So he's able to forge this, the coin of meteoric iron. Usually we wouldn't be able to have access to this without having these pass on our Pretender, or from getting very lucky for some randoms. And what this does is it gives us Astral Magic +1 and Magic Resistance +1, which is absolutely fantastic. We're going to give him a hammer, and we're going to tell him, hey, make us one of these. This will make one of our Astral Mages Astral 2, if we give it to them, so they'll be able to start making it on their own. We got really, really lucky with just a random mercenary that we can do. Always a good idea to keep an eye on it in case you get one of these wizards here. As for Mamor, so there's not as much for him to do. We can get him to craft these bags of the wind. Unfortunately, he's too low for Wall Shaker, which is a shame. These bags of wind are quite useful in that they give you a temporary air gem. They're not really the best thing to use. There is also amulets of breathing that will give us water breathing as well for our commanders. They can be quite useful. These pills of water breathing are also quite useful in that they give water breathing to 75 size points worth of units. So that's about 35-ish men, 32-ish men, or thereabouts. Unfortunately, there's not anything he can make that will be an air booster, which is a bit of a shame. If we had a little bit more air magic, we could have done it, but he's only air magic level 2 rather than what we needed. He is fairly high astral, astral 3. So we're actually just going to double check there isn't anything we can use in terms of conjuration. No, not really. Nothing that we would be able to boost us up into that. So instead, what we'll get him to do is we'll get him to make that Bag of the Winds. We'll be able to give that to one of our air mages just so they're able to cast a little bit more effectively. And we'll start moving more of our lizard shamans down into Summer Edge to come down and help us. Other than that, we've obviously got this force in Barney. We're going to leave them there. There's a chance they could start moving around, which I really hope they don't start doing. Usually barbarian uprisings that do that, but if they do, that's going to be a massive thorn on our side, and we're going to have to divert some forces in order to deal with that. Just in case, in Barney, we're going to get a bunch more men. Probably do the same in Bandar Log now, just so we have a little bit of a defensive force that we can use to react if we need to. And then other than that, we're just sending our commanders around to just pick up more of our troops. We've got a bunch of slingers here that we're going to bring over towards Summer Edge. And other than that, we're just keeping the site searching going. Ishar will head to the Land Pristine. He can come down and help us. Ricard, you're coming out over here. And other than that, we've just got, as I say, we've just got a bunch of troops that we need to start ferrying around. Everybody here is going to move down into Summer Edge. Fantastic. Yep, they're all going to move down much as they can. As for this guy here, we'll get him to Yik-Bator. He can search for magical sites there, and that is all of our movement. So now we're just concentrating on recruitment. We're still recruiting people in the hole. We are. Yep, fantastic. We still have this Throne of the War that we can claim, which we will be able to claim in 2 turns. So what we'll do is we'll probably siege out. We'll have a check of the Glowing Caverns. We'll have our guys fight, and then we'll probably claim the throne in that same turn. So that will be the end of the tutorial. But let's not think about it just now. Let's just carry on. Double check our research as well. Not quite getting construction level 7 next turn, but we will do the next again turn. That's absolutely fine. We'll double check we haven't got any quills left to send. out? No, we do not. And with that, I think we're good to go. So we'll move on to the next turn. Okay, so we managed to find one magical site in Soreth, the Leper Fens. Spreads deadly diseases, so you don't want to be here. But it does give us one water gem and a couple of death gems. Cannot complain. And plus he was already diseased, so you know, it's going to happen. Let's move our guys up to the glowing caverns and check the rest of our messages. So, we had a bunch of unfound sites. Shame. But there was the battle at the Fortress of the Glowing Cavern. So let's have a quick look and see what the Abyssian force is like inside this fortress. Fairly small. I kind of expect them to have more. It looks like they have an Anathemate Dragon, which is one of their good casters. We can see he has some fire gems on him, as well as an earth gem. Be interested to see what he is going to cast. Other than that, they have a Beastmaster, it looks like, and a couple of infantry. It's not that many troops, but, you know. Unexpected event in Dithian Sea, unrest, more unrest, but can't be helped. But other than that, we're good to go. So, we managed to think up our scripting last turn for our communion and for a bunch of our mages. So, other than that, we just have a bunch of troops who are all going to do what they think is best. But as you can see, we have a large number of troops. Let's make sure that we have also got our commanders actively scripted. And then we have Nob, who's going to cast personal regeneration like that. I still can't remember if stay behind troops will cause him to just stay behind troops and cast spell. No, he will still cast spell. So we're actually just going to get him to retreat. He's going to cast personal regeneration, then run off the battlefield. He might die. It's absolutely fine. We've spent turn to recruit him. We spent one astral and one earth gem to give him the ability to join the communion. I'm really not that bothered. And actually, before he retreats, seeing as he is a priest, we'll get him to cast a bunch of blessings just to try and bless up some of our sacred guys so that they get the additional reinvigoration. We'll get Yolok to research now. We have our coin that we can use, so we could potentially use it with our guys here. So this is where boosting becomes really handy, or becomes very handy. So we give this to him here. And now we can then potentially forge something even better. This is a nice one, which we don't actually need that booster to do, but Shield and Meteoric Iron automatically casts the Power of the Spheres at the start of the battle. This is the one that gives you +1 for all magic pass for that caster. You give that to a guy in the charge of a communion. He makes all the slaves better, all their magic. Really good thing to get. A little bit costly, 15 astral gems, 10 earth gems. Even with a hammer, that's still a lot of gems. We'll take away his... Oh, he won't give that back. Okay, so we'll have to actually just forge that again. I forgot about that. So, good time to go over that. So if you give mercenaries magical items, they will not give them back. So you also won't give our hammer back, so he's a little bit of a shit in that sense. As for our other dude, he doesn't really have any earth gems with which to cast. That's a shame. Could give a Crown of Commands. This is an Astral 2. This is quite kind of similar to our Helm of the Heroes. So this gives Inspirational 1 and also +100 leadership, and also increases the amount of bodyguards he can have, and gives him a bit of magical command. Helm of Heroes instead gives you Inspirational +2, which means the morale bonus is extra. But this one's good if you really want to command a bunch of units, so we'll get him to make that. Other than that, we'll continue our site searching. We'll move up everybody here, up to the glowing caverns, like so. Erectus, you can move up as well. Everybody here will continue their march down. Just in case, for whatever reason, let's say Snek gets assassinated, which I will not be very chuffed about. Could happen. I doubt it will. It could happen. We'll still just move our troops. There's no point about getting lax when it comes to one of your enemies. You may as well play as if they're going to pull something out of the bag and defeat you. So for that edge, we're still... Or to that end, sorry, we are still playing as if we could potentially lose at any time. It's not going to happen, but you should try and stick to that if you can. We'll give another one of these boots to these messengers. As we can see, this guy here, so he does have forest survival and he can swim. Oh, he doesn't have forest survival, my bad, he's got swamp survival. But he can swim, so these rivers don't mean anything to him, so he's actually able to make it all the way from Bethune to Summer Edge because he now has map move at 23, same as a knight, which is very, very nice. So we'll make sure that we're sending all of our dudes over to Summer Edge. As far as death sites here, we'll probably send you down into the swamp. You'll be able to be quite useful there. And we'll send you over to the wastes. Wastes usually have a good chance of having magical sites, which is why we want to send people there. Other than that, we'll continue the search in Gunderic. What do we have? We'll get you to make another slave matrix. We've got Kishar. We'll give him another set of boots. At least we still have that bag of the air. There's a lot of things to remember in Dominions. You're going to forget something at some point, especially when you're concentrating on other things. If we had the time, I'd go back to make sure that I didn't give him that item, but at this point, we've won the campaign. We're going to be winning in the next couple of turns. Where is our... Yeah, so our Snake's going to move to Summer Edge next turn. He'll be in the Endless Caverns. He'll be able to claim this throne, and that will be us won the game. So we're probably going to just do that. We'll round out the tutorial series this episode. We might as well. And you guys can enjoy this siege, unless we want to wait one more turn for construction level 7, which I think we do. We'll just hold off for one more turn, and that'll be absolutely fine. Let's just end the turn here. We're on our victory lap. So there's a battle in the Cavern Realm, where they have managed to beat our province defense. We can expect that to happen. So there was an assassination event on Tigris. Special monsters. A gelatinous cube. Oh, you are very, very dead. So these gelatinous cubes are very, very dangerous. A lot of hit points, no protection, but they will just trample you if they can. They also are immune to stun, and if they die, or sorry, if somebody hits them with something shorter than a spear, they'll get splashed by acid, so they will hurt themselves. So we're going to see our commander get absolutely devastated and eaten by a gelatinous cube. Fantastic. Other than that, we did find a magical site, Murdering Mire. Another death gem for us. We're not going to bother going through the rest of it. I know I was just saying you should play as if the enemy can come back, but there is absolutely physically no way for them to do that. So we're going to get our Snek to claim this throne. Everybody here, enjoy yourselves. We are going to storm the castle as a last hurrah. Let's do it for Lothar. And before we do, we're just going to have a quick double check to see if there's anything interesting we can cast with our few remaining guys. So, as is, no, it would just be our forges and our rituals that we could do. Potentially go over them more a little bit later. Or I guess we can go over them now just quickly. So it unlocks very powerful magical items. If you get this on Middle Age Ulm, you can access these lightless lanterns. So these will taint your commanders in that it will horror mark them, meaning that they're more likely to get assassinated by horrors, which isn't the best, but it gives plus 12 research, and you can make them for 1 fire gem with a Mastersmith with a hammer. If you thought your research was good already, these will explode your research. So say if you hadn't got as much gold as us, but you're in a fairly stable position, get yourself to construction level 7, start making these out, you will rapidly head to the top of the research tree, or be amongst a few couple of nations that are, if you're in a multiplayer game. As well, if you're in a multiplayer game, you can start to make deals to hand these out, because you can make them for 1 gem, you can get people to pay 7 for them, potentially. So if you can get 7 fire gems in for that, it costs you a mage turn, obviously, but you have enough Master Smiths, and you can make these with any Master Smiths. You can secure yourself a lot of gems by just doing a little bit of Diplo. Do note that people will know that Ulm's going to do this, so they're going to want to try and take you out, especially if you're just rushing for Construction 7. So keep that in mind. You don't want to just go to Construction 7 and leave everything at level 0. You still need spells for the mid-game. You need to make sure your armies are alright. Okay, and with that, this is our victory lap, where we beat Abyssia, and we take the Glowing Caverns, and we have won the tutorial. Let's end the turn. Now we have finished enchantment, so there was a battle in the Fortress of the Glowing Caverns. Our large force here. Let's have a quick little check of our communion if we can see it. Could be here somewhere. Hard to see because we have so many, we just have so many casters. So we've come in, we've Curse of Stone them, that's going to massively increase their encumbrance. Abyssians already had pretty high encumbrance because of the amount of protection that they have. Here we are, our Iron Blizzards are coming out. Truly our enemies have no idea what to do. Another Curse of Stones. I don't think we've got that on 2 people, but we've got our Flame Wards coming out, so we should see that quite a few of our infantry of Ulm have... oh, they're starving. So these guys are actually starving. They have rusty equipment. Oh, okay, so they seem to have been affected by this, even though they're not supposed to be. Okay, unless that's because of another effect. But these are magic, so they shouldn't be getting affected by that. If they are, that is potentially a bug. If there has been a fairly large bug that's happened with the latest patch, in case you don't know about, coastal recruitment is now broken. Oh, that was a nasty falling fires from their mage. At least I hope that was their mage. That's ours, we're going to have a bit of a talking to them. But the Abyssians are bundling us up here. We're taking a lot of damage from the heat. We have still managed to win the day. And we've taken the castle at Fortress of the Glowing Caverns. We did lose a lot of our men there. Seems like their Athmet Dragon was doing pretty well. Their Fire Drake as well was breathing out a lot of fire against us. Thank God we had a little bit of fire resistance. But we managed to capture the fortress. The enemy temple was razed. Our Mastersmiths and our Priestsmiths did pretty well. Unfortunately, we lost a scout. Our troops are starving. There's lack of supplies. But victory! You reign supreme. You are the Pantokrator. Your enemies are cast down, broken, dead, enslaved, or imprisoned. You are the sole author of fate. You summon the tides, dictate the seasons, give or withhold fortune and life, light up the sun at dawn, and quench its fires at dusk. All move according to your will. Endless eons pass. And with that, we have won the game of Dominions. So this is the victory screen. This is what you get when you manage to eventually beat the other pretenders, either through conquest or through your dominion. Now that nobody's left to stop you, you become the one true god. And that's pretty fantastic. So from here we can view our history, which will give us a little kind of look and see how we were doing in comparison to some of the other nations. So we can see here, this is Bandar Log. This blue here is our dominion. All the flags are the provinces that we've taken, so we can see that we have massively managed to outperform Bandar Log. They were pretty much stuck in their very small number of provinces just due to them not being able to get the scales to do it. I wonder if we can press 2. Yep, so we can press 2 to see how Abyssia is doing. You can already see that we're down there in the hole. This is us beginning our conquest of Bandar Log, where we can see we just wrapped through them in a couple of turns. Boom. And with that, we pretty much had complete control of the overworld. And then we started our march on Abyssia, took the Glowing Caverns, took the Endless Caverns throne, and that was us. Fantastic. And with that, we bring our Dominion 6 tutorial series to a close. I do hope you found these videos helpful. I've tried to go in details of things where I can. Middle Age Ulm is a very simple nation at its core. It does have some finesse and things that you can do with some of your random chance mages, but it's very much a sort of fire and forget. Buff your, build your troops, buff your troops, send them at the enemy. Use your magic on your Mastersmiths where you can. It's quite a simple nation to use. Going forward, I think I'll probably do a national overview of Middle Age Ulm, where I can maybe try and talk about a little bit more about pretender design specifically for Middle Age Ulm and your sort of choices and what you can decide from there. Because they don't have any sacreds, or they have very few sacreds, just their priests and nothing else, there's a couple of things that you can do with pretender design where you're not really that bothered about a bless. You can go massively into scales, you can go into a rainbow pretender where it's less about the bless effects but more about having the access to the passive magic you wouldn't otherwise be able to have. And there's a couple of other things that you can do where it comes to utilizing your pretender to give you boosts in certain magic paths so you can get access to more of their special national spells, which we never even managed to get into in this game purely because we just didn't have a high enough Earth Astral Mage in order to contact the Iron Angels. But I'll maybe speak about that another time. Other than that, I'll probably make another series where I can go through things in a bit more details, probably go into communions in a little bit more details, or Sabbaths for that matter, utilizing blood magic, creating thugs, and what are some decent low-level research spells that you can use to really boost your infantry or your troops up on a battlefield, as well as some sneaky tactics that you can use so you can get around and start raiding. Anyway, I hope this has been useful to you. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, take care.